Do you want to film your bike rides but you're not too sure what camera to go for? Do you go for like a more of a rugged action camera, or do you go for a smooth cinematic gimbal style camera? What we're going to do today is put the DJI Action 6 and the Osmo Pocket Series on a real ride test and see which one comes out better. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you an example of how the action cameras, the stabilization breaks down in low light. We've got this tunnel coming up here, so I'm going to be filming with the Pocket 4 and the Action 6, and you'll see the difference between having a gimbal camera and having, like the digital stabilization, and also the quality with the dynamic range with the two cameras as well. As you can probably see, I can't see on the screens, but the Action 6 is probably a lot darker and more jumpy, and it's going to be a lot more blown out at the end, where the Osmo Pocket 4 will compensate a lot quicker for when we come out of the tunnel. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you an example of how the action cameras, the stabilization breaks down in low light. We've got this tunnel coming up here, so I'm going to be filming with the Pocket 4 and the Action 6, and you'll see the difference between having a gimbal camera and having, like the digital stabilization, and also the quality with the dynamic range with the two cameras as well. As you can probably see, I can't see on the screens, but the Action 6 is probably a lot darker and more jumpy, and it's going to be a lot more blown out at the end, where the Osmo Pocket 4 will compensate a lot quicker for when we come out of the tunnel. So I'm just driving or riding through some different lighting conditions, just to give you an idea of how the cameras perform going from shade to sunny spots, what the dynamic range is like on them. And both cameras perform pretty well like this. It's only if you get into real dark areas, like when we was in the tunnel, that the action camera is going to really break down with the stabilization and the image. But when you're out just like this, it's going to work perfect. So I'm just driving or riding through some different lighting conditions, just to give you an idea of how the cameras perform going from shade to sunny spots, what the dynamic range is like on them. And both cameras perform pretty well like this. It's only if you get into real dark areas, like when we was in the tunnel, that the action camera is going to really break down with the stabilization and the image. But when you're out just like this, it's going to work perfect. Another good thing about these cameras is you can connect microphones. I've got the DJI Mic 3 and you can get some great range on them, which I shall demonstrate right now. So I've got to be a good 40 or 50 meters away now, and you know, maybe longer, I'm not too sure. It could be longer than that, and hopefully you should still be able to hear me really well. So yeah, that's another good thing to have in these, both the action camera, like the Action 6 and the Osmo Pocket 4, they'll both connect to the microphones. I'm sure all action cameras and gimbal cameras will, but like I said, these are just the ones that I've always stuck with. I've always kind of like veered towards DJI stuff. So, but yeah, that would just give you an example of the audio range you can get. So what would be the pros and cons to these two cameras? Well, the first one, the Osmo Pocket, are not waterproof, where the action cameras are. Obviously this has got a gimbal on it, so it can be very fragile. You've got to be real careful with it, where the action cameras are pretty rugged, so they can probably take quite a few knocks and a bit of abuse. The cons to the action camera is its low light quality. It's very dark, and once it's really dark you start losing your stabilization, as it's like a digital or electronic stabilization. The image breaks down, then it will be very jumpy, the image will look dark, and yeah, it's not ideal for low light whatsoever. Whereas the Osmo Pocket, because it's a gimbal, you know, it doesn't stabilize in camera, so you'll get nice smooth footage. It has a lot more dynamic range as well, so you can get a lot better quality footage at night. Both of them have internal storage as well. On the Pocket 4 you get 107 gigabytes, which is a hell of a lot really, and on the Action 6 you get, I think it's 50 gigabytes, so that's still quite a good amount. Another thing with them is, obviously with the Osmo Pocket you've got a fixed field of view really, so I think it's equivalent to like 20 millimeters. You can get a lens that you snap on that will put it down to about 14 or 15. But then obviously with the Action 6 you can change your field of view a bit if you want to get some really wide shots, for if you're like cycling or whatnot. And you can change it quite a bit. You can obviously adjust it, so if you don't like the fisheye effect you can make it look a bit more normal. And then with the action camera you've got a fixed focus, so you know if something comes up real close to it, it's you're not going to be out of focus on anything, where the Osmo Pocket has got like a continuous focus, so even anything comes closer up to the lens it will automatically just focus for it. So the Osmo Pocket 4 will shoot 4K 60 frames a second, and in slow-mo it will do 4K 240 frames a second, where the Action 6 in its like regular video mode can do 4K 120 frames a second, and that's its max in slow motion as well, 4K 120, or you can do 1080 240 frames. So there's like multiple mounting options you can have, and for the action cam you could go with like a head mount like this. You've got this kind of clip-on one that you can attach to like a backpack or even on the peak of a cap, something. This is a cage for the Osmo Pocket, so then that has an attachment on the back, so you can clip it to different mounting options. So I could clip it to the chest rig, so you could see like the chest rig that I'm wearing. But yeah, there's multiple different ways you can get stick-on pads if you want to stick them to a surfboard, suction cups if you want to suction them to a window or to the side of a car, something like that. And then you've got, these are your batteries for the action cam. This comes with like a box of 3. Obviously one's in the camera now, but that's for the Action 6. This is a spare battery extension pole for the Osmo Pocket, and also you can put a fill light on the Osmo Pocket, so if you're filming in the dark and you just want a bit of extra light on yourself, that's a nice accessory to have. But yeah, there's multiple ways of mounting them, and you know, you can just pick and choose for whatever you're doing with them. But yeah, that'll just give you an idea of some of the basic mounts that you can get for them as well. So another good thing with the Pocket 4 is the active track. So if you want to get shots like this, then it's easy to do. So what would my recommendations be? Depends on what you're filming really. If you're just doing cycling, you know, like doing a lot of the off-road stuff and jumps and all that, then you'll want to go for the action camera, because like I said, it's a lot more rugged. The stabilization is great on them, and there's different levels of it as well. But if you're more of like, say you go on a cycling holiday and you're going to be vlogging as well, and maybe going into a city at night, then something like the Osmo Pocket will be better for you, because you've got that low light performance, you've got the stabilization from the gimbal. But then, yeah, its downside is for cycling, you've got less ways of mounting it, although the chest rig works okay. And yeah, that's more of the downsides to it. It's just a bit more awkward to hold, because I usually just hand hold it if I'm cycling along, just to get a few shots. But yeah, so I suppose you gotta just think about what you want to use it for. But I use both. If I know the weather's going to be bad, I'll bring both out. At least that way, if it starts raining, I can use the action cam, because it's waterproof, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, in general, I like to use the Osmo Pocket 4, just because it's all round better for what I do with it. So yeah, hopefully that gave you a few ideas, and some footage in there so you can kind of compare the two. And if you're looking for a camera for doing your cycling or whatever you want to do, and hopefully that gives you some ideas of what they're both like. So I appreciate you watching, guys, and if you don't mind giving us a like and subscribe if you're new. And I guess I'll catch you on the next video. So take care. I'll see you soon.